Hello, everyone, and welcome to the One United podcast. This is Wali, and it's been a while since actually I came online with you guys. And Matheus Cunha, we are actually making some moves quite early on in the transfer market, and let's keep a short discussion over here to discuss about the prospects that are bound to come in. Let's say, जिसमें काफ़ी ज़्यादा there's no smoke without fire, and जिसमें कह रहे हैं कि basically United are very much interested and we can attain them as soon as possible. Whereas one of the transfers that has already been completed, that is Matheus Cunha from Wolverhampton from Wolverhampton Wanderers for 62.5 62.5 million it is, yes, 62.5 million pounds. So the front three is primarily our focus. अगर हम बात करें Matheus Cunha, one of the tens for Ruben Amorim's future plans. He's already settled in there, and the good thing is, जैसे कि हमने एक previous reel भी डाल दी, अगर आप हमारे Instagram page में follow कर रहे हो, the Cunha is a good buy, I feel. 62.5 million pounds in 2024, in 2025, I beg your pardon, is something which can be considered as a 30 or 40 million transfer market fee. And considering that he's Premier League proven, he scored quite a lot of goals for Wolves in a Wolves side that had struggled last season. I think he will make a major impact for United. And the next transfer that we will also talk about is Bryan Mbeumo. Again, one of the star boys. In fact, the star boy for Brentford FC. So Mbeumo की भी अगर हम बात करें, he has been he was in solid form for Brentford last season. If we talk about his stats, he had scored 20 goals and he also had 6 assists from 38 appearances in the Premier League. Let's not forget that he featured in almost every season. And there is a requirement for Manchester United for us to have such players, because as you know, if there is anyone comparable in the sense of remaining fit and being available, that is Bruno Fernandes. He is usually available, and we all see what the result is from his end. Similarly, if we have a player who's there day in day out for our team, who's a regular starter, that's Mbuemo. That could also play a major impact in our season next, uh, in our season ahead. So exciting times for United fans. Yeah, who would have thought after the Europa League defeat that we're missing out on Champions League. Tottenham is in banter times for United. We were thinking probably we let Bruno Fernandes go for 100 million in order to basically attain some quality players. But even without that, we're actually ending up. We are actually interested in quite a few good players. And the other thing is that it's been quite early in the transfer market. It's just been a couple of days, so we're making moves. Cunha is already in there. Mbuemo, the talks are advancing. कल की अगर हम बात करें तो as per David Ornstein, as per Ben Jacobs, they had mentioned that United had offered Brentford 45 million plus 10 million add-ons for Brentford for the signing of Mbuemo. So 45 million or 10 million अलग से add-ons. So the add-ons might have been different, some other conditions, but apparently Brentford haven't accepted that bid, and it's okay. It's okay. Nothing to worry about. Nothing to panic, because the first bids are usually something which are usually not accepted. So now there is going to be some negotiation tactic between Barada and we're talking about Wilcox at the helm. There is going to be some negotiations over here from United as well as Wolves. The good thing over here is, the best thing over here is that Mbuemo is convinced with the Manchester United project and he wants to come in. He wants to be Ruben Amorim's main guys up front. So what I read yesterday was that prior to United actually making it public that they were interested in Mbuemo, and prior to them actually making a bid for him, they were they first had a word with Mbuemo. He seemed convinced. He seemed happy, and despite interests from the likes of Tottenham, Arsenal, Newcastle, all of those teams which will be in the Champions League next season, despite all of these clubs actually being interested in him, he has chosen Manchester United. And whatever news you're hearing about the fee being quite high, कुछ लोग ये कह रहे हैं कि एम्बुएमो को जो है काफी wages जो है उसको काफी high दे रहे हैं. That's something which hasn't even been documented as of now. That is something which isn't even the talk of the town. All right, so these are basically coping mechanisms by our rival fans. It hasn't been decided as to what the wages would be for Mbuemo. Of course, they will be significantly higher than what he was earning in Brentford. Of course, it might be a little higher than what he would have gotten in Tottenham or Newcastle, but it's not going to be something substantial in terms of Rashford levels or Casemiro levels, the 300k per week. It's not going to be in that range at all. So whatever they're saying, it's a coping mechanism. Like at the end of the day, what you have to say is, brother, that it's the biggest proof that Manchester United, well, despite all the banter, you are one of the biggest clubs in the world. All right. So you are one of the biggest clubs in the world. People will actually be interested in joining you, and it's quite strange. Even we had lost hope. We thought that we might not be getting people in, especially considering that we're not in the Champions League. But if you think from it, from a perspective of the players, I think they are thinking that this is possibly the worst Manchester United squad that they've ever seen, that they've ever faced, especially when we're talking about Cunha and Mbuemo. And if they get in, first and foremost, the fans are going to welcome them because they are going to be certain starters. देखिए immediately Garnacho की जगह आप उसको आगे खिलाओ and की जगह जो है Mbuemo को आप आगे खिलाओ. Bruno might have to drop down a bit. I think he might have to be an 8 or a 6. That's what I feel. And there will be certain starters. And if they hit the ground hot and running, let's say, last season, if they continue their good form from last season and even go to the next level, they will be definitive heroes for Manchester United. And in their minds, they might be thinking that, let's say, यार हम अच्छी performances there, we earn a few points. There is nothing else to focus on except, of course, the FA Cup and Carabao Cup much later in the season. Let's say if we are able to stick to the Premier League, we're able to score goals, assists, provide um, make Old Trafford a fortress again, like it what was before. If we are able to do that, then definitely, if we are able to bring United back into Europe. All right. So I'm keeping my hopes a little low at this moment of time. Obviously, Champions League is something which every fan wants. But even if we get to Europe, this is what I feel. अगर यूरोपा में भी अगर आएंगे, that is also something which will be a major. It will be a good comeback. You have to say, not a major, good comeback. Considering you finish 15th, and if you are able to finish in the top 16 in this season, then it would be considered something much respectable. Although a club like Manchester United should always aim for the Premier League, the Champions League. But let's be honest, we all know where we are at this moment of time, and gradually we have to get there. Although the way that we are moving the transfer market, that is definitely something to look into, and it's very interesting, and it's actually turning out, the transfer market is actually turning out to be much better than our season in which we actually played football. So I'm glad that we are actually making the moves. I'm confident we'll be able to sign Mbuemo this coming week. I have a good feeling through that Mbuemo and Cunha will be confirmed. और अगर हम Gyökeres की बात करें, the possibility of Gyökeres coming in will be through a method that we're going to use. That method will be that we are going to first sell Alejandro Garnacho and Marcus Rashford and possibly Jadon Sancho, but Garnacho and Rashford. Because if we get Garnacho and Rashford off for, let's say, Garnacho might go for somewhere around 50 or 60 million, Rashford for around 40, 45 or 50 million, their wages will be off the books. So you're actually creating headspace over there. Two of your biggest previous assets, two of the previous biggest assets apart from Bruno, you have to say Garnacho, he was one for the future, and Rashford. If they go, then definitely you're bringing in a lot of money, and you have that money to actually buy a centre forward, a goal threat such as a Victor Gyökeres. So I think that's going to be the approach. We are going to sign Mbuemo next after Cunha, 2 signings done. Then our next step might be to sell off Garnacho and Rashford, Anthony as well if possible. Once that's done, then we might look to get in Victor Gyökeres, and that is something that is actually exciting me a lot. Another name, by the way, that we have stumbled upon recently is Emi Martinez. As per Ben Jacobs, Manchester United are also interested in Emi Martinez from Aston Villa, and he might be a little on the fag end of his career, but he's a goalkeeper, he's a World Cup winner, Copa America winner. He did significantly well for Aston Villa as well. Did decently well in the Champions League. Got the award for the best Premier League save of the season. So he's been there and about. He's been there. You can say he's been clutch for Argentina as well, especially in the Copa America and the World Cup, the biggest stages of them all. And you need such goalkeepers, especially in cup competitions, especially when we're talking about knockout stages. Because our problem has been for quite a while for Manchester United. The problem has been, I think, ever since the Van der Sar days, we haven't had good penalty savers. Shot stoppers in terms of penalties. We haven't had those intimidating personalities. Yes, David De Gea, he was one of the finest goalkeepers once upon a time in the 2015, 2016, 2017 phases of his career. He was actually the best goalkeeper in the world, you could say, the best shot stopper, best reflexes in town. But when it came to saving penalties, he was never up there. And, if you actually have to be a good penalty saver, if you want to be right up there when it comes to saving penalties, then you have to impose yourself on the person who's going to take it next. And that is exactly what Emi Martinez does. So if we get him, although, see, I feel that we can definitely do better. I feel that there are much better goalkeepers out there. But like I said, in terms of imposing yourself on opposition, in terms of showing a bit of personality, showing a bit of cockiness, that is something which Manchester United has not done. We're talking about Cunha, we're talking about Mbuemo, we're talking about Gyökeres, we're talking about Martinez. These people might might will be bringing in a personality, whatever you say. Even if their performances are not good, these people are someone would be someone who would actually intimidate you. So the talk of the town was also with Emi Martinez. It was being said that United are targeting Emi Martinez, and the fee that Aston Villa are looking for is around the 25 to 30 million pound region. So if we go ahead with that, I think that would be decent for at least 3 to 4 years. Um, I do not know what's happening with Andre Onana. There is a case where he might leave, he might stay. There were stories coming up that his preference is to stay at Manchester United. I have a feeling that Ruben Amorim doesn't fancy him as much. So if some goalkeeper like a Martinez comes in, then he will definitely be a starter, and Onana might actually have to sit on the bench. And if that's the case, then he might be looking for a bit more money out of him. And let's be honest, because Andre Onana did not have a good season at all. He was one of our weakest links. And apart from that, there were also talks about Estupian for the wing back region. So plenty of things happening, and the names that we are getting associated to is something which is exciting me as a Manchester United fan. For the people who are watching in, you can interact with us as well, with me as well. Uh, like, what are you most excited for, guys? If you're actually uh, watching me over here, like, which signing is actually being uh, quite interesting for you, which is actually exciting you a lot. And in terms of the PSR rules भी अगर आज PSR rules आप लोगों ने देखे तो मैनचेस्टर यूनाइटेड आज मैंने पढ़ा था. Let me just read it out to you as well. So in terms of the PSR, Manchester United have the fifth best PSR rating at this moment of time. So that's a very this is actually a very promising sign, which means we actually do have the money to spend, especially for the next couple of years. So in terms of most Premier League clubs should be safe from PSR trouble this month, there was a report that was brought in. So Chelsea is right at the top. Then we have Brighton at second, Manchester City at third, Tottenham Hotspur at fourth, and Manchester United at fifth. So it's the fifth healthiest PSR rating at this moment of time. And in terms of clubs that are actually at risk, so PSR stands for profit sustainability, and Aston Villa is in deep trouble. Okay, we're actually at the red zone of 15 million. So, like I said, we can take advantage of that. If you want any more players from Aston Villa, we can actually go ahead with it. And that is why I think most of the clubs are actually also getting quite annoyed with this fact, because United are actually doing good business. Yes, you might have heard that Liverpool are going in for Wits, and he had a decent performance, although they lost against Portugal last night, which I'm very happy with. Uh, but if there is any other club that is actually doing the rounds, it's United. And I hope this continues. I hope it was a wake up call that was needed, and it is turning out to be really, really, really good. And if once we get Mbuemo, which I'm confident that he might be coming in next this coming week, then definitely our focus would be on selling these players who have been here for a while, especially when we talk about Marcus Rashford, Alejandro Garnacho, Anthony, Jadon Sancho. Let's talk about Jadon Sancho a bit as well. So, as per Jadon Sancho, the freedom fighter, he wanted to stay at Chelsea, but the wage structure was something that wasn't being in his favor. He wanted something much higher at Chelsea, and he was very much in favor of staying in Chelsea. Even Chelsea wanted him to stay, but Chelsea wanted him to actually compromise for what he was getting at United. It was possibly as for Ben Jacobs, I think I had read that it was a 33 to 35% drop of his usual salary, usual wage that he was getting in United. And I understand he might have his reasons. A 33% drop is something which is quite significant for any player, any individual. Let's say if you're working in a job and you could move to another company and they say that you have to take a drop of 35% from your usual salary that you were getting in the previous company, then I think it might be even difficult for you to actually move on. You might say that no problem, I'll go back to that company and I'll keep applying for another place. So that's the same philosophy that Jadon Sancho is going ahead with over here. I feel that he's going to come back to United. Ruben Amorim, again, do not fancy him to pick Jadon Sancho. He hasn't even spoken about him once throughout his tenure. So I think, he might be targeting other clubs. He would be looking to possibly go back to Dortmund, but they might not be able to match his wages. You talk about any other English club, I don't think they might fancy him. What about Saudi? I think Saudi is the only option for Jadon Sancho, which might work in his favor if he's just looking for, wages in his favor. But if he's looking to actually get into the World Cup squad for England next year, then he has to play for a European nation because if he plays for Saudi Arabia, considering his performances, yes, he scored a goal in the final of the Conference League, but considering his recent performances haven't been decent enough, people have been talking about his work ethic. I honestly, if you see, when Jadon Sancho came in, right, guys, I was actually quite happy. I was actually quite satisfied, and I was actually ecstatic, to be honest. Because if you look at his numbers in terms of chances created, he was right up there. He was right at the top when he was coming from Dortmund. Yeah, there was a time when they were talking to him in the same level of Erling Haaland. That Erling Haaland and Jadon Sancho, the talent levels are right up there. And whoever attains both of them, and whoever attains one of them, let's say, would actually benefit in the long run. And was a slow start to the season for Jadon Sancho. Inconsistencies. Then there was that goal against Liverpool. Then he was sent to the mountains by Eric Ten Hag. Apparently, he came back, scored a goal again. But it's just been hot and cold. Yes, you could say that he, in terms of chances created, he was one of the top chance creator for United. But like I said, in terms of beating your man, showing a bit of intent, winning those 50-50s, winning those duels, I do not fancy Amarim actually going ahead with him because his wingbacks have to be someone who would actually go toe to toe with the other winger from the other end because he has to be good defensively as well as offensively, and he has to be a good runner. And we have Sebastian Matu over here. Hi, Sebastian. Hope you're doing well, brother. And we need him to stop wasting time. Yes, I agree with that, Sebastian. I think this. He's not going to stay at United. He has no intention of staying at United. And what United need to do is, see, I might feel, I might look like someone who's heartless, but you need to actually, if these players have no um, intention of actually playing for you in the long run, and if you do not have intention of having them in the long run, then it's better to train them separately if they join you, if they're back with you. Train them separately, make them feel a little isolated. You know, add the pressure on them that they do. They also need to put the pressure on their agents to find a club for them because it's not gonna. Because if you look at us, United, that's been a problem for us. If you look at Johnny Evans, he had no business of coming back to Manchester United. Yes, all credits to him for his illustrious career. He's won the lot, but he had no business of being in Manchester United in 2025. You're talking about Victor Lindelof. Why is he still at the club? Before that, let's rewind a bit. Let's go to Phil Jones. Goalkeeper, why was he at the club for 10 years? He could have had a testimonial match, I beg your pardon. So, we need to actually get rid of this debt. You look at Manchester City, the way that they do business. Kevin De Bruyne, if he was at United right now, we would of course consider him a legend. We would even give him 2 or 3 years, a free run. You've done a lot for us. 2 3 years you play for us, and you have to be. You get City. Aguero moves on. Company moves on. Kevin De Bruyne moves on. Now, before that, it was David Silva, Yaya Toure. All these players were actually doing decently well when they left the club. So you need to have a time period in which you need to know, okay, this 4 to 5 year time period is when I need um, positive outcomes from this player. Okay, and once I get that, we're going to get rid of him. We're going to get someone else, fresher, and we are going to challenge for big trophies once again. And that is exactly what Manchester City do. So and that is what I want our club to do as well. Okay, now we need to get rid of Jadon Sancho. We need to get rid of Marcus Rashford. We need to get rid of Anthony. Alejandro Garnacho doesn't want to be here. Get rid of him. Victor Lindelof. So that's five players who straight away go outside that exit door. And Ericsson has left. Jordi Evans has left. And there was another player who had left. I cannot recall who that was. So, that's, like I said, five players who need to leave, three who have already left. That'll actually, and even Onana, if you could actually get rid of Andre Onana. For Hoyland, I'm quite confused at this point of time. I do not know if we will be able to sell him or not. It all depends on whether we get our next centre forward as Victor Gyökeres, because if we do get him, um, will he be trusting Joshua Zirkzee to play as a centre forward alongside, uh, let's say, a Victor Gyökeres? God forbid, let's say if he first touchwood, first say inshallah, let's say if he signs for us, and God forbid if he gets injured, and would you trust Joshua Zirkzee to lead the line of attack? See, I am a big Joshua Zirkzee fan. I feel he's got the talent. I feel that he has got the vision. He has gradually grown into the game. He has gradually grown into the Premier League. His link-up play is something which can create a lot of problems for our opposition. But would you actually trust him to be a out and out number nine? I don't think so. I think he's a 9.5. Like I think he himself acclaims of himself of that. I think he's a 9.5. He can drift into midfield. He can create the space for your Mbuemos and Cunhas and Amad Diallos and your Dorgus. He's someone who can do that. Who can bring the defense forward and create space for them to run in behind your wingers and your wing backs. So, which is why I feel the Hoyland situation is going to be very intriguing. Which is why I feel that even if we sign Gyökeres, I do not know if they would actually let Hoyland go. However, if Inter Milan, I think Inter Milan is interested in Hoyland. If Inter Milan are actually in there and submitting around 35 to 40 million pounds, straight away you bank in. Right? It hasn't been a season to remember at all. He has been one of our biggest liabilities, I feel. It was like playing with 10 men. Holder play was trash last season when it came to Ireland. Goal scoring ability was also trash. Link up play, the less I talk about, the better. I think we need to get rid of him, but I do not know what's in Ruben Amorim's mind. Do not know what's in Manchester United's mind. Uh, I think I'm 50-50 on him at this moment. See, I want him gone, but I'm 50-50 on what is going to happen to him specifically. So it's going to be interesting. I hope he goes. And let's talk about Bruno Fernandes now. So he has also rejected Al Hilal. There was £100 million bid that was made for him, and he was getting astronomical figures as his wages if he had joined Al Hilal. And they wanted him desperately because they wanted him to feature in the Club World Cup. But and it was actually quite serious if you actually deep it. His agent went to Saudi. He went to Riyadh to have discussion with Hilal, and came back to him, said a few things. I don't think Bruno Fernandes agreed to it. I don't think his family were very keen in moving to Saudi Arabia at this point of time. I think it's the same reason why I feel, let's say, if we put Jadon Sancho for sale to a club in Saudi, he might not go because the next year is a World Cup year. And even though there's a big difference between Sancho and Bruno Fernandes in terms of performances and outcomes, and even if he goes to Saudi, let's say, even if he would have gone to Saudi, he would have still been in the World Cup squad, like exactly like what happens to Ronaldo. But I think that he's not going to go there at this point in time. He's going to focus on the bigger European competitions and the bigger European leagues, the Premier League over here. Once everything goes, like once this season is done, once we see what happened to Manchester United if they finish in Europe or Champions League, I feel he's going to leave by around next year. Then. Once he's done with the World Cup year, I think he's going to leave around then. But right as of this moment, I'm very happy that he's staying with us. Club captain, he needed to be here, and I understand why some people wanted him gone. I understand why some people are frustrated as well. They're thinking that 100 million, if we would have got it, then it would have been much easier for us to actually do business in this transfer market. But let's be honest with ourselves, guys. Are you sure that Ineos would have actually used this 100 million just for transfer activity? Uh, are we forgetting that we also have a debt to cover? Are we also forgetting that we have a new stadium to build that we have promised? would be up by the next 4 or 5 years. So there was no guarantee that Ineos would have actually used that money for in order to attain other players. There was no guarantee. They might have, but they might have not. So, anyways, he's here. Let's not forget that even for those people who were saying that he should have gone, he's the least of our problems at this moment of time. I think you have other players that need to be. Like I said, I mentioned it countless times on this podcast. Nacho, Rashford, Sancho, Anthony, the likes of Banana, Hoyland, Lindelof. If these guys are still here next season, even if half of them are here, let's say even if we get rid of 4 or 5 of them, I would be glad. Although I would want all of them to actually disappear, but even if we get 4 or 5 of them away from here, then I would be glad. So that's how it is. Exciting times are ahead. What have we discussed about Matheus Cunha? Are you guys excited about Matheus Cunha, guys? Do let me know. Are you guys excited about Bryan and Mbeumo coming in next? Gyökeres. A lot of people are actually excited for Gyökeres because, as for Ben Jacobs, I've been quoting him a lot, and kudos to him, credit to him. It's usually David Ornstein and Fabrizio Romano who we talk about more often than not when it comes to transfer speculations and activities, and they're bang on. But Ben Jacobs has also been on point. So as per him, he said that if Sporting Lisbon gets somewhere around 70 million, then they would be happy in letting Victor Gyökeres go, and even Gyökeres, for that matter of fact, is interested in coming to Manchester United. So he's also excited. And the reason for that is because Ruben Amorim is at the helm, and Ruben Amorim developed him into a beast. Let's be totally honest. Okay, and he has been one of the top 5 centre forwards, top 3 centre forwards in the world. And if we talk about his stats a bit, let me just look into it. So yes, Victor Gyökeres last season for Lisbon had scored 39 goals and 7 assists from 33 matches. And in the Champions League, from the 8 games that he played, he scored 6 goals and had an assist. So that's a total of 45 goals when you combine it in League and Champions League form. 45 goals from your 41 games. I do not know what you have to say about the Portuguese league. You might say it's a farmers' league, but at the end of the day, scoring over 40 goals for any league is something which needs to be heavily considered and which needs to be given respect. Some might say that his heading ability is not, uh, it's not up to the levels that the Manchester United need, but rather he is scoring goals regardless. We need someone who is there at the right place at the right time. Right now, we do not have those players. If you get someone like a Gyökeres, we will definitely be causing problems. And yes, you might say the Premier League is a little different, more physical. I think he has it in him. I honestly feel that he might do something quite significant if he comes in. He will cause a threat. I think he is. He will be our Galactico signing, you might say. Of course, there will be a lot of pressure on him to score goals. And at the same time, let's say, okay, let's cut some slack on Hoyland. Let's say if Gyökeres comes and let's say Hoyland stays. He will. The pressure will also be off him for a while, and I think he needs that. Although, like I said, I'm not a fan of Hoyland. Once again, I think he needs to leave. He is 22 years old at the end of the day, as Paul Scholes has recently mentioned. And if he gets a striker through which he could actually learn, get inspired by, feels a little pressure from, I think there might be some room for improvement on his end as well. So the good thing is, again, Joker is another player, another top quality player who's willing to actually join Manchester United and has clearly stated, as per Ben Jacobs' article, that he is not concerned about United not being in the Champions League. So what is it that is making Manchester United so, it's making a place where, all the top talents are once again showing a lot of interest in. Let's not forget that even when we had not qualified for the Champions League, I don't know if you guys remember, but it's quite recent. Uh, the first season of Jose Mourinho, Louis Van Gaal won the FA Cup. We signed Jose Mourinho. Okay, so we were not in the Champions League, but we signed one of the top managers of the world, Jose Mourinho. He came in. Okay, this is a reminder to all our rival fans as to why you might say that their wages, etc. We offer them truckloads of money, which is why they're coming in, etc., etc. That's not the case. All right, we're a big institution, and footballers actually want to be associated with Manchester United, regardless of how it goes. They want to be associated. So let's not forget, Jose Mourinho came in. did not qualify for the Champions League, Louis Van Gaal. So he still came in despite us not being in the Champions League. We were in the Europa. Who else came in? Zlatan Ibrahimovic, one of the best centre forwards of all time. Who else came in? Paul Pogba, one of the most talked about and one of the most talented midfielders in the world. All right, you might have your opinion on him, but he is still right up there when we talk about one of the most talented, one of the most gifted midfielders that we've ever seen. Henrik Mkhitaryan came in. A few more people came in. I do not recall, but these are the top targets that we actually got in. Even if you look at this season, we were in eighth position when Eric Ten Hag was sacked. Yes, who came in? Ruben Amorim. The guy had won two consecutive league titles with Sporting Lisbon. He had the opportunity of winning his third on the bounce, a hat trick of league titles. What did he do? He left it midway and he joined a Manchester United, which was in a major mess because he thought that he might not get the opportunity again. And yes, it hasn't been good at all. It has been utter BS. All right. But despite that, he wanted to join Manchester United and he did. Similarly, we've seen it with now Cunha. He said that he's going to join United. No Champions League, no problem. I'm going to join. I'm going to come to the theater of dreams. And Mbeumo is going to do the same. Gyökeres might do the same. Where Emi Martinez, a World Cup winner, player in the Champions League for Aston Villa last season, he might come in. So, if all goes according to plan, if all what's being said is true, then I'm actually looking forward to next season. Even if it's one game per week, I think it might do us a favor. Like I said in our previous podcasts with Paritosh and Anshuman as well, us featuring in one game per season is something that might actually do us well, and it's a wake-up call that we needed. So this happening is something which might actually do us more good than harm. So it's time to get back up to the top. It's time to get to the top again gradually. We're getting those players that we want. We're getting Premier League proven players. And if we get Martinez again, another Premier League proven player, goalkeeper. If we get Mbuemo, which is going to happen, Premier League proven. Cunha is Premier League proven. You have your Gyökeres. He might not be Premier League proven. Yes, he is a little. What do you have to say? Uh, from the Portuguese league, he might not be tested. He did feature in the championship, so he does have a bit of experience. His numbers might have not been that great. I think let's take a look at his numbers in the championship. If you're talking about Victor Gyökeres, championship stats. Just give me a while, guys. If you guys want to talk about any transfer, any speculation that you've heard, do let me know. I'm here. I'm all ears. And we'd love to have you for our next. And if you're watching us, if you're watching me in particular, then do subscribe to us. We basically come online every week. It's usually me, Paritosh, Anshuman, Dinete. But right now it's just me because the other guys are a bit busy and we had to talk about transfers, so I'm here. So what am I looking into? Championship. Okay, so he was in Coventry City in the 20. He was in he was in the championship from 2020 to 2021. Swansea, he was there. Did not do well at all. 11 games, no goals. Then 2021 again. He played for Coventry. 19 games, just 3 goals. Now this is where he starts steadily and gradually building up. Next season for Coventry in the 21-22 season, 45 games, 17 goals, 5 assists. Then 22-23 seasons for Coventry, 46 games, 21 goals, 10 assists. This is where he got better. And then, of course, in 23-24, he was sold to Sporting Lisbon. In his first season, 33 games, 29 goals, 9 assists. In his second season, which was this season that just concluded, 39 goals and 8 assists from 33 appearances. So as you can see, the trajectory has been that way up. And this is exactly what we're looking for. So I'm very much excited if we actually end up getting him. And long may this continue. Finally, we have some football people actually operating from the top. And, Jason Whitcox has also been recently appointed as the director of football. So, you might have your opinions on Ineos. They might be penny pinching. They might be actually firing a lot of people when it comes to the Manchester United stuff. But in terms of the transfer market, even if you talk about last season, Joshua Zirkzee, Mazraoui, who else did we get? Lenny Euro. I think these were top signings from Ineos. In terms of transfers, I think it hasn't been really bad from their end. We've actually got some quality players, and this is exactly what we can expect this season too. Uh, Cunha is already there, and Mbuemo is nearly there, and we might even get Gyökeres and Emi Martinez. So yeah, it's a long transfer market. Let's see what happens, guys. Thank you for tuning in. For those of you who have watched my video for the very first time on One United podcast, to drop a subscribe, to like this video. We would definitely want more of you to come in, share this as much as you can. And if there is something specifically that you want us to talk about, you can drop it in the comments section, and we will make sure to actually talk about that in our next topic. Uh, in our next segment. And you can also drop us a follow on our Instagram page where we're consistently, dropping some reels and shots, etc., etc. So yes, it was a good session. We spoke about Cunha, we spoke about Mbuemo, we spoke about Gyökeres, Martinez, Jadon Sancho, Bruno Fernandes, Ineos, and let's see what happens. Until then, do take care of yourself, guys. Hopefully by next week we sign in Mbuemo, and hopefully we get some exits as well to generate some funds and get in some more quality players. I'm very much excited. I hope you two are. Until then, do take very good care of yourselves, and we'll be back with more. Thank you.